British Columbia, home to the most beautiful landscapes in the world. Home to mom and pop vineyards, hot springs, farmers markets, some of the world's best skiing, snowboarding, surfing, and mountain biking. We protect our rainforests and keep our air clean. BC, we strike the right balance between nature and nurture. But did you know that for the last 30 years, BC has also been home to the finest cannabis in the world? BC Bud is world-renowned for its taste, aroma, and potency. We've competed and won cups, gained recognition from international celebrities. We are the Cannabis Growers of Canada. We create wealth, opportunity, and good-paying private sector jobs. The BC cannabis crop is worth over $7 billion a year, and there were over 17,000 farms creating work for Canadians and improving the lives of millions of people. We are joining together to build a free and fair cannabis market that benefits all Canadians. Won't you come and join us at cannagrowers.ca?
Won't you join us indeed? That was an ad for the Cannabis Growers of Canada, and we are here right now with the founder and president, Chad Jackett. Cannagrowers.ca is the website. Chad, thank you once again for joining us today. Now, I want to get your views on some of the things going on with the legalization that's coming down. It's what's on everybody's mind here in Canada. We know it's eventually going to be here. And some of the cities have some pretty wacky schemes in order to how to decide who's going to get the licenses. So we'll get into that. But before we do, most people I think out there are familiar with craft breweries. You know, here in Canada we have major conglomerate monopolized industries, companies like Labatt's and Molson's. In the United States, they have like Pabst and Budweiser, Miller, Coors, and things like that. But most people know if you want to get the good stuff, you got to go to the craft breweries, the guys who are the independents, not doing it on this massive industrial scale. So how does craft cannabis compare with what we've witnessed happen in the brewing industry, with the divide between the major conglomerates and the small craft breweries? Is there a comparison here with craft cannabis in Canada?
Yeah, I'd say there absolutely is. It's maybe even worse than what. Well, I hate to compare, but right now they're definitely criminalizing all the small craft people, and they're not allowing them in the door. They're really not even giving them, the platform. They're saying, well, we're going to allow for micro, and, they're kind of holding back on how that's going to be. And, people are saying something like 2,100 square foot canopy space, which is absolutely nothing. You're basically a closet grower at that point. I don't know how you can expand on your business and hire employees when you're so limited.
It's like bureaucratic red tape, so you can't even compete, which is comparable to the beer stores, because they have the top shelves locked in at the stores. And if you want to compete and be up there at eye level, you got to pay top dollar. So it's like they're barriers to entry, right?
Absolutely, and that's the other part of it, is they're wanting everybody to sell their product to the liquor board, and then the liquor board, they're saying, is going to distribute it to the government distributors and the private dispensaries, I guess, if they want to call them that at that point. Mm-hmm. And that's just, it's a terrible thing. It's going to get in the way of the whole farm to table aspect of how British Columbia works right now. The industry as it works is, craft growers are growing small batch cannabis and bringing it down to their dispensaries that they like to work with and they choose to work with, not that they're forced to work with, or nobody they want to, they're forced to build up their business, is people they want to voluntarily work with. So in that, the fact that the government is trying to break that up, it just shows that they're trying to just sort of, come in the way of that sort of family entity that has been operating for so many years, where people take care of one another, and they're just trying to, just replace that with, sterile sort of relationships. So
it's clearly not the legalization that's happening, it's the monopolization that's happening here in Canada. And, you mentioned the wiping out of the mom and pops. I mean, is that really what their game is here? Because it's been taking them a while to legalize. People are probably wondering, I heard the Liberals talking about this like years ago. How come it's not legal yet? Are they really just getting their ducks in a line to monopolize the entire industry here?
I would say, yeah. I mean, I think they had their ducks completely in a line to monopolize the industry, but then they weren't accounting for certain people that were going to stand up and take things to court and do, you know, certain things and be more outspoken. And they didn't, I don't think they really realized that the industry would have such a backbone to stand up for themselves as much as they have, and not just let them run over them. I think they attempted to take out all the growers when they pulled the MMAR, and the coalition had to be formed to fight the government in that, to hold those licenses in place, those 41 or 39 some thousand growers at the time that they wanted to replace with a handful, which was literally 51, I think, at the time that they were proposing. I think we're a little bit over that now in the licensed producers, but those LPs are also now being monopolized by the bigger players within the LP monopoly, and they're being bought up and conglomerized because these guys realize that they can't even really manage to get through with this regulation. So it's really, you know, the last man standing, whoever has these banker connections and is getting subsidies to kind of get through all this, is the one that's going to be standing at the end, it looks like, right?
Now, for those who might not be aware, LP stands for licensed producers, and these are the guys who the government, their crony, inside fat cat buddies are getting all the licenses, but there's apparently only going to be a few who are going to be being able to play along here. And I want to get your views on this article recently out from Global News. Check this out. City's Urban Planning Committee looking at cannabis lottery system. On Tuesday, the city's Urban Planning Committee will consider a two-stage lottery system for cannabis permits. City councillors have been asked to consider approving a cannabis bylaw proposal that would use a lottery-type scheme to decide who gets a development permit to sell marijuana once its recreational use becomes legal in Canada. So we're talking like practically pulling names out of a hat. What are your initial thoughts on this?
I mean, they're trying to turn our economy into some sort of a casino, is what it looks like. They're running our you know, the free market like a casino. If you want to be able to participate in the free market, you have to win a lottery first, you know. And it's also, again, it's just breaking up those relationships that have been built over the years, and actually probably, you know, putting a little bit of a riff in some relationships, because some people are now maybe going to be fighting over this lottery, and it might even, you know, separate people even further because they're fighting over, oh, you know, I want to be a part of this lottery, I want to be the one that's in, instead of just focusing on your business and trying to build the best business you have, and, you know, letting the market dictate with the people that come into your store and say, yeah, you've got the best business and you're the one I want to go to, right?
Yeah, they should be letting the product speak for itself, and not just the product, but the creators of the product. You know, we want the good people to be involved, right? And that's essentially why you guys set up the Cannabis Growers of Canada, right? Tell the people the absolute sheer importance of this organization moving forward when it comes to legalizing cannabis in Canada.
It really is important that we have our voices heard, and, you know, in doing that, you have to have an organization that is organized and is willing to, you know, be out there fighting for you all the time, talking to the politicians, doing all the boring stuff, going to meetings, going to all kinds of different things, just making, you know, keeping an eye on what is going on and making sure that they're always in the politicians' faces. And, you know, there might be a lot of stuff that has to go on in the future as far as court cases, and the people need to be united for those. There could be a lot of class action suits and different things that are going on. And, you know, how better than to have an organization like the Cannabis Growers of Canada to help organize something like that and help the people organize themselves into a situation where they can actually accomplish something like that. Yeah, I think it's all about strength and numbers as well. You know, we gotta have our voices heard, and we gotta make sure they know there's a lot of us. You know, if you come after us, there's going to be 10 more that pop up every time you take one down. So this is the voices that they need to hear, and they need to also hear from the public that is going to say, you know, I would rather I want to choose to buy from these craft producers rather than these large monopolies that you're handing these licenses over to, and I want to have some choice in my life of where I get my medicine and who I support in my life, and I would rather support my community than a bunch of multinationals that are really just extracting the wealth from our communities.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to see a true, open, free, and fair market, We got to support guys like Chad and the Cannabis Growers of Canada, and they're staying 2 steps ahead. You know, the government is constantly messing this up. Anytime they get involved in anything, really, it just creates a giant mess. So we need guys like Chad and the Cannabis Growers of Canada to be that bridge to ensure that it happens in a proper and correct way.
Absolutely,
yeah.
and you know, it's important that we do this here in Canada because we're so far ahead of the rest of the world as far as cannabis goes, and we really need to fight for our international markets as well. We need to be able to market our craft production to the whole world, and right now, you know, the LPs are banking on the name of BC Bud, and they're the ones that are marketing to all these international communities. So we need to be able to do that as well. We need to, you know, stand up for that and have our voices heard. And you know, I'm hearing things like, I just actually heard from a friend of mine the other day that he was in Germany where he was visiting his home, and one of his friends had his door kicked in for, it was something like a third of a gram or 0.3 of a gram of cannabis. Now, we need to be leading the way to stop these kinds of things in other countries as well, and we need to be leading by example. You know, apparently there were 16 cop cars for this, basically a bowl. Wow. You know, like, what is going on in this planet when, you know, one of the most medicinal herbs on earth, we're using our tax dollars to fund thugs to go and knock people's doors in to stop them from using it peacefully? This has to end. So, I mean, we have the opportunity to stick together here. We have a pretty strong base in the cannabis world here in Canada, and we need to really lead this around the world, everywhere. So.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't think it can happen here, like what we see happening in other countries, you better guess again, because it certainly can and it certainly will, unless we make sure this is steered in the direction that it needs to go. So check the links in the description. Please support the work they're doing there at the Cannabis Growers of Canada. Links are located below. Chad Jackett, once again, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks for having me, Dan.